down to the 135-pound division. We see Floyd Schofield, and so we saw his dad speaking, saying they have the Abdullah Mason fight on the table. It's been offered to them. However, in order to take that fight, he said they wanted 2.5 million, right? But then turned around and there was another video where now it's Floyd, the fighter, and his dad, and his Floyd said like his dad tried to tap him like like let me do the talking, but Floyd Schofield said, me and my dad had this talk. We really would take the million to do the fight, right? So it seems like guys are inflating their ask because they're saying, you know what, Turkey got the money, so let's just try to get the money from Turkey. You know what I mean? And I think we saw something similar with Shakur. Shakur was not happy with what he was offered by Turkey for the Zepeda fight. And then he said, that's not what you offered me the first time. But then recently we seen Shakur do a public apology saying, hey, I'm sorry, Turkey. You know what I mean? So it was a tweet where he apologized to Turkey. So my question is, currently Turkey helping boxing or is he hurting boxing more? Because it seems like, because guys are saying, yo, this dude has the bread, let's ask for the bread. But it still seems like people are like pricing themselves out and using the excuse of Turkey has the money.
Yeah. I would say, I think both can be true in this situation. And the reason why I say that is because the money is allowing for the big fights to happen or allowing certain people to fight each other. I would say he's helping boxing more than he's hurting boxing at the moment. However, I feel like once he's out of the picture, he would have hurt boxing more than he had helped boxing, because the person that's being able to funnel these large amounts of money, especially once he's gone, are not going to be able to deliver. So people is going to kind of look at that bar. And now really, if you think people were struggling to make fights happen prior to Turkey or prior to PBC making those great cards in 2023, man, it might be even significantly more harder after Turkey leaves boxing. And I think that's the part where he's probably hurt boxing in that sense once the inflation rises. I think that's the part that's probably a concern. If I'm
I think
being
you hit the
honest.
nail on the head, the inflation, right? And if he does step away, as he said he plans to do sooner than later, you know, our guy's going to still be expecting the same kind of payday, and is going to hold up fights because the money just isn't there. So it does seem like in the long run, he could potentially be hurting boxing more than he's helping it. So I guess it would be nice if, obviously there's always going to be big fights to be made, but it would be nice if we can get a few more years of these big fights just being made very quickly, right? Because even Abdullah Mason and Floyd Schofield, to me, I consider both of them prospects, right? But prospects with high ceilings. So right now you put them together, I think that's a pretty good fight.
It is. It's a pretty good fight, you know, and asking, you know, over 2 million out the gate without being even a champion is kind of like, you know, and I get it, you know, your price is your price, but that's not how reality works, right? Like we know what a person's worth based off of what they're bringing to the table, based off of what has been done historically, right? So like we use the past as a measurement stick to be like, okay, this is kind of what you should be getting paid based off the market value. It's not just what you come up in your head and what you think you're worth that you are worth. No, that's not how reality works, regardless of if you're a boxer putting your health on the line, right? And if you don't like that price, then don't be a boxer. It is what it is. But people ain't gonna give you, because what's stopping someone from coming into boxing and be like, no, I'm worth $1 billion. Obviously, you wouldn't say that because you understand that, you know, regardless of you saying you live once or whatever the case may be, your life is precious. You understand there's still a market value to these bouts, you know. So it's just, I think sometimes people do get ahead and they do price themselves out, you know.
Now, in terms of, you know, pricing, like I said, I think Floyd Schofield is going to come around because on the other video he said, yo, we really will take the million. You know what I mean? So maybe that's what was really offered or something closer to that. But in Shakur's case, and I guess we kind of saw this in Canelo's case too, Canelo and Turkey seem to have some friction, but Canelo came around and Shakur came around recently. I'm not sure. Did you get a chance to see this?
Yeah,
Shakur
this. Okay. I seen this tweet. He said, "Oh, it's miscommunication. Sorry, Turkey. You know, let's work. You know, emoji."
Do you think it's actually because Canelo said something similar, or Turkey, or one of them said, he was speaking with Turkey's representatives instead of Turkey directly. Do you think
Mhm.
it's really miscommunication, or do you think money is just talking and Turkey is somehow flexing his power and making these guys bend the knee and come back around?
Yo, it's hard to say because if we're taking what Shakur's saying as face value, as the truth, then that was a miscommunication thing, right? Between Eddie Hearn and Turkey, right? Maybe the promotional companies are probably trying to intercept certain things and be like, hey, we don't want you to speak directly to him because it may affect my bottom line. It could be one of the middleman issues. Or, like you said, it could probably be, Turkey just been like, you know what? No, I am the king. Kiss the ring. And
Yeah,
and the show must continue.
yeah.
I think that was probably more along the lines of Turkey flexing his abilities when it came to Canelo
Hmm.
versus I feel like with Shakur, I think it was probably miscommunication between Eddie Hearn, the team, and Turkey, in my honest opinion.
Yeah. See, I'm kind of thinking the opposite, right? Because I think Turkey flexed on Shakur, bro. Because
Okay,
if
only for Shakur, but like Canelo, so you think he flexed on both, or you think it's the reverse of what I presented?
I think he flexed on Canelo too.
Okay, okay.
But I think in a different way, right? I think Canelo, he probably just showed Canelo a bigger check, and then Canelo was just like, all right, now we're talking. But to Turkey, he's probably just like, I got what I wanted. You know what I'm saying? But
Okay,
with
okay.
but
Okay.
but the Shakur one's a little interesting, right? Because Abdullah Mason recently signed with Turkey, right? Um, did I know Shushu really recently signed with him? We know he just got bought out the Ring magazine.
Hmm.
Then all of a sudden we're hearing Abdullah Mason versus Nakathila,
Hmm.
and I'm not sure. Did Keyshawn, is Keyshawn still top rank, or does he have like
He's with
ties
top
with?
rank still.
Okay, okay, but like the Abdullah Mason Nakathila thing, right? And it's almost like he was saying, like, look, my money is long enough to bring most of your peers or competition that are around here. We can make meaningful fights without you. And I think Shakur almost felt like the odd man out. Like, okay, I gotta kind of like, how am I gonna get these paydays if not there? You know what I mean? Because
Okay.
I mean, I just think people were giving Shakur a lot of flack. They were talking about his fights being boring. They were talking about the arena not being filled. Like we said, Turkey is paying inflated values. So I think now, and I think it was intentional. I think he intentionally put Abdullah Mason against Nakathila, because if Abdullah Mason goes in there and knocks Nakathila out or looks impressive, then what are people going to say? Oh, Shakur couldn't do that. You know what I'm saying? Abdullah Mason's the next best thing. And I think it's a chess move to say, look, I got leverage. I don't need you because I got all these guys. So I think the Nakathila thing was a chess move to throw a shot at Shakur. That's why I think he kind of flexed on Shakur.
Okay. 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 I mean, it sounds very well could be a thing. I don't know. I just feel like with Turkey, I don't think he cares about choosing, you know, Abdullah Mason to for Jeremiah to kind of spite Shakur. I don't think it's that. I think he was just like, for me, I feel like Turkey was more so like, okay, if you want to go and do your own thing, I don't care. Like, I do agree that, yeah, I got all these other fighters. Let me just focus on them, but I'm not too worried about you. Like, at the end of the day, I want to make, because I think Turkey's selfish in a way of like, I want to make fights that I believe is good fights in order to kind of down the line. Like, I feel like if I feel like it's a decent fight, I want to make that fight happen. But also, Turkey have handlers as well. It's not like Turkey's making all the decisions. He's also have handlers that can kind of advise him in the sport of boxing as well. So I don't think it's just mostly like, oh, you know what, I'm gonna be a mastermind behind all this and make this happen. I could be wrong, but I just don't get that sense from him. You know what I mean? But
Yeah,
but also, do you think so? Do you think he relayed that to Eddie Hearn, or do you think Shakur realized this, right? Based off of your theory, Shakur realized this and then reached out. Like, how do you think Shakur kind of handled that situation and then made the tweet?
I think, I don't know if it was Eddie Hearn, but I do think someone on Shakur's management team spoke to him and said,
Okay.
"Hey, you got to make this thing right, right?" As a matter of fact, pulling up Ring Magazine right now as we speak, because I don't, and I could be mistaken, but I thought I saw something on Ring Magazine. We'll if we find it, we'll clip it, right?
Mhm.
I thought I saw something with Ring Magazine saying they were happy to welcome Keyshawn Davis, right? Now,
Keyshawn is on there. Let me
bro,
see.
I could be mistaken,
Yo,
but
nah. I thought he's with Top Rank though, and I thought Abdullah Mesa was also with Top Rank.
but Abdullah Mason is definitely about to fight under, bro. These
Nah, yeah,
things,
Keyshawn is still under Top Rank.
bro. There's something where Ring Magazine was like,
I think
I
they're
and
doing
he
a
was showing,
partnership, maybe.
yeah, maybe,
But
maybe it's a strict.
And Abdullah's also a Top Rank as well. You know what I think it is? I ain't gonna lie.
It might be a strategic partnership, bro.
I think it's a strategic partnership, but I think it's because the way Shakur left Top Rank, they don't F with him.
Yeah,
So now they're doing whatever they can to up. I think it's more Top Rank than it is Turkey. I think Bob Arum and they still feel some type of way about Shakur, and that's why they're pinning or allowing Abdullah Mason and Keyshawn Davis to start taking these fights of
yeah.
former Shakur fights. That's what I think. I don't think it's with Turkey. I think it's with Top Rank.
It could be Top Rank. Don't get me wrong, but here's why. I don't know, bro. I think Turkey's a very prideful guy, right? But here's where I'm getting at. I know it's a long-winded, but here's where I'm getting at, right? Abdullah Mason,
Mhm.
Nakatila. Who have we been hearing rumors of Keyshawn being about to fight?
De Los Santos.
So if Keyshawn has this strategic partnership with the Ring Magazine and he fights De
But
Los
this is
Santos,
but the rumors came before the partnership with Ring Magazine. This is what I'm saying.
but apparently it fell apart. But now the
Yeah,
rumors are that it's back on, right? And if
yeah.
it's back on, it seems like Turkey is the one that's going to make it happen. Maybe he's, like I said, maybe he's funneling enough money for them to
Yeah, I
be
think
like,
he's
okay,
making it happen. I think he stepped like probably Bob Arum probably reached out to him, hey, can we make this fight happen? And then he went and made the fight happen. Yeah, that's what I
so
suspect happened.
even let's say, even if it's not Turkey doing, let's say it's Bob Arum doing, right? Because it seems like, so what if Abdullah Mason goes in there and looks stellar against Nakatila, and then Keyshawn goes in there and looks stellar against Edwin De Los
Yeah, it
Santos?
hurts Shakur stock.
Then it hurts Shakur's stock, right? So I
Yeah.
do think Shakur looked at that like, it's a coincidence, these fights that are being put together. You know what? Let me put myself back in the mix and show people that I'm still that guy. So I think he had to concede because he saw what was happening around him. I don't think those fights are coincidences, bro. Whether it's Turkey
I
doing or
agree.
Bob Arum's doing, I don't think it's a coincidence.
I 100% agree. I think it's Bob Arum and Top Ranks doing, bro. I really genuinely believe that too. Like, cause bro, there's no way like y'all setting up these fights with your fighters, and these are the two notable fights that made Shakur's stock go down. There's no way. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So like, I agree with you. I don't think it's a coincidence. Now it's just up for debate on who's really behind it. You know what I mean? So, but it's definitely not a coincidence. And I agree with you. I do think Shakur seen that and was just like, oh no, I gotta get my hand in the mix. You know what I mean? So it's just waiting and seeing. But he said he's happy for his next fight. It looks
Mhm.
like he got a fight lined up.
The Zepeda thing may come to fruition. I think the Zepeda thing will come to fruition. Oh, let me ask you this. I'm gonna kind of ask you maybe about a bit of a ranking at 135 right now, right? So Muratalia
Muay
looks like I can't tell if it's the interim or if it's actually Loma's belt that he's gonna fight for us. But if he's gonna fight for Loma's belt, that means Loma's out the picture. He probably is
Yep.
retiring, right?
Uh-huh.
So we had Tank coming off of the Lamont Roach situation,
Yeah.
right? So we're gonna consider Lamont Roach a 135 pounder. In your opinion, right now, do you still have Tank as the guy at 135?
Yeah. I have to think as the guy at 135 still.
Do you have Shakur behind him, or do you have someone superseding Shakur?
I actually have Shakur right behind him.
Shakur right behind him.
Yep.
Fair.
Yep.
I think we agree there. Here's where it gets a little tricky now. The third guy, right? The
Mm.
the, the third guy, let's say Loma's out of the picture. Who would you rank amongst these guys as the third best lightweight if I were to give you, and tell me if I'm missing someone, right? If I were to give you Keyshawn,
Mm-hmm.
William Zepeda,
Mm-hmm.
Muratala,
Mm-hmm.
Lamont Roach. And
Mhm.
tell me if I'm missing someone there. And who would
I
you
would
rank
say, I mean,
Abdullah?
I don't know
And
if
let's put Abdullah Mason in that mix, right? Who would
okay,
you
I
rank
was gonna
as
say if you
third?
wanna the third, man, I'm not even gonna I'm gonna be honest. See, I don't wanna I really wanna see how Lamont performs in the second fight to really
Mhm,
see. And ideally, I wanna see how he performs against someone else, a high notable name at the 135-pound division, because I don't wanna be quick to put him at that third spot because he just moved up. And maybe it's more so him being familiar with Javante St. Davis that he's
mhm,
being just successful against him. So, like, it's really hard to say. I mean, Keyshawn's gonna come up. I think Keyshawn is better than Abdullah Mason. Not to say he won't lose to him or whatnot. I think he's and Moratai, man. I think he's good. I think Moratai is really good. But
mhm.
I might have to put Keyshawn as number 3. No, you know what? I'm gonna go on the limb. I'm gonna put Lamont Roach number 3. I'm gonna put Lamont
Okay,
Roach number 3. I'm gonna go
okay.
number 3, Lamont Roach. I'm gonna go on the limb.
Okay, cool, 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 cool. I mean, I don't really want to do the whole 4, 5, 6, 7, but I was just wondering, like, who is that next guy behind those two? Because Murtai, and this may actually decide. Muratala says if he gets that next belt, if
He's
he gets
gonna
that
unify
belt,
against Keyshawn.
he wants to unify against Keyshawn. And I think there's like a they could do like a rock paper scissors with him, Keyshawn, and Zapata. Even though I think Zapata will fight Shakur and lose, right? But I think those three are probably battling it out for that next spot. Lamont as well, but I'm with you on Lamont. I'm just not gonna go there yet. I want to see let's see it again. Make sure it wasn't fluky. It was
Yeah,
familiarity with
that's
Tank.
really what I want to see. Because I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I don't care about like if you lose, I care about how you lose and who you lost to. But like the Jamel Herring loss, I mean, I know it was years ago, but it's just there was really holes in this game that I really didn't expect. And I mean, Javante, like you said, it is just Javante, right? And you guys are familiar with each other. Can you
Mm-hmm.
do that against another notable name in the division, right? Like a
Yep.
variety of opponents.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's for me, I wanted I'm reluctant to put him at number 3, but like Keyshawn is also right there because I feel like Keyshawn is more groomed into the division,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
he's bigger,
Mm-hmm.
stronger. It's just a matter of just who's the more skilled boxer. I want to say Lamont Roach might be more skilled, but still it's hard to say when they fight against each other or their opponents. So
Yeah, and I know people probably gonna kill me in the comments for this, but I actually didn't forget Andy Cruz, but I just feel like as far as his development, not his development, but like his management and getting him the fights and potentially content. I feel like he's just a little ways behind them in terms of that, but I'm sure he'll give each of them comp, right? But I
mhm,
also did not forget about this guy. It's just that I haven't seen him in 2 years, and we knew he had the blood clot situation, Edwin De Los Santos. So let's see how he looks in the comeback fight against Keyshawn. Make sure he's healthy.
mhm.
And, then just based on his skills, he could be in the mix fighting to be that next guy as well. But I just didn't mention him just because we got to see him coming off the blood clots. And I think Andy Cruz is still like a few fights because I think Abdullah Mason and Keyshawn both have teen fights now, where Andy Cruz is still what, maybe 5, 6 fights, something like that.
Mhm.
So I don't think it seems like he hasn't completely entered the mix yet, but I'm fully aware of those guys. So don't kill me in the comment section, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, but let me know anything else you got on this topic. If not, go ahead and take us out.
Yeah, nothing else. For those watching, definitely comment, give your thoughts, right, in the comment section. Let us know. One, do you think Turkey's ruining boxing, right? More so, do you think these fighters are going to be pricing themselves out in the future? Did he save boxing? Also, how do you feel about the Shakur situation, right? Do you think there is a formation of cahoots happening in the background to kind of keep Shakur down, right? Like these conspiracy theories going on. And also, where do you rank that third spot, right? Do you agree with me in terms of Lamont Roach or maybe even Keyshawn, or do you think it's someone else? Do you think it's Morataya? Definitely share your thoughts in the comment section. 2 cents short of $1. We are out of here.